Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Alex Harriman. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. I hope you're listening to this and not watching it, because if you're watching it, you see my disgusting Movember mustache. But if you're listening to it and you want to see it, jump onto YouTube and come check it out, because that's fun all in itself.
That's a great opener.
Hey, Kelly, what's up?
Well, I'm subject to your mustache, so there's that.
Yeah, you have to look at it. They just have to listen to it.
Yeah. It's good though. It suits your attitude.
Oh, good. I don't know what that means, but I think it's a compliment.
Open to interpretation.
Perfect. What's going on in your world?
So you guys were up for the weekend, you and the family, and I had the pleasure of playing video games with Emerson this weekend. And my eyes have been opened so much to how much awareness you have to have all the time when you're parenting, and how much children pick up, but how they interpret things. So I was playing the video games and Emerson asked me, like, what do you want to play? Or what are you good at? That's what he asked me. And I was like, I am not good at any of these things. I was like, so you go ahead and pick. And then later on, as we were playing the game, he just repeated back to me exactly what I said to him. And he's like, you're not good at any of these. And, it was interesting because Devin piped up and she's like, honey, just because she said it to you doesn't mean you can say it back to her. And my mind was blown, because I did just say it as a matter of fact, but he's now repeating it, thinking it's totally fine, and has no reference system to understand how upsetting that could be to another human.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fine, but I thought, whoa, like, it's just constant life lessons. And I just appreciated being present for it.
Yeah, it is. And even things that you don't realize that they're collecting. He'll repeat things that were from conversations we didn't even realize he was listening to.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think, it's so interesting to look back as an adult and think, how did I develop that skill or that knowledge of what to say and what not to say, right? I'm a fairly self-regulated person. Him repeating it back to me would not upset me. But if he repeated that back to a kid, that might put them over the edge, right?
Yeah.
It was really fun to see you guys in that parenting role, and to see his brain at work, figuring out like what's appropriate and what isn't and why.
Yeah. And how he can push the limits.
Totally. Well, I mean, I think everyone who knows Alex understands how and why Emerson could push limits.
Yep, that's a fair statement for sure. he got some of my better traits and some of my not so better traits.
Yeah, he's definitely got both of your sass, and it's such an incredible blend. Yeah. Anyway, what do you have for us today?
Pretty quick topic. I want to talk about when we know it's enough. And so this can go a number of different ways, but specifically if you're listening to this and one of your primary goals is fat loss or weight loss, how do I know when I've gotten where I want to go? How do I know when I've gotten enough or gone far enough down this journey? Something we talk about quite often with our clients, and I think it's something worth you guys listening to.
Take it away.
Okay. Pretty clear on what we're going to be chatting about, though?
Yeah, I really love this topic, and I don't think it's a quick topic. I think it
Well, no. I mean, any topic can go as short or long as we want it to, right? So I think the first thing I will start with here is that no scale will ever tell you this. You'll never get this from a scale. And I don't just mean a body weight scale. That's one of the scales, but also scales or charts or graphs or formulas. None of these will ever tell you when it is enough. So don't even look at them. Right? Like we love data. If you're working with a coach, the more data you give the coach, the easier it is for that coach to make changes and adjustments and make sure that you continue to progress. So I like seeing your weigh-ins and your body measurements and your progress pictures. I like seeing all of that because it helps me make decisions, but they should not dictate how you feel or how much further you want to go.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so much. I don't want to interrupt. I want to let you go as long as you've got ideas.
So the reason I say this is because society has created this in us with everything from your doctors using a BMI to just hearing people constantly talk about how much they weigh. Society has created this in us, so you're not at fault if you do think this way. This is how most people think. I want to challenge you and encourage you to step away from this frame of thought, because that number on the scale, or that where you sit on that BMI chart, isn't going to really affect the things that matter.
Interesting. I get nitpicky on words, so correct me if this is not the focus. People don't talk about how much they weigh, they talk about how much they want to lose. And I think it's really important to make that distinction, because especially as women, we don't just go advertising our current weight. The conversation circulates about how much we want to lose, or just that we want to lose. And that conversation in and of itself is a statement of, I don't feel enough, right? And I mean, people will be on different psychological ranges of that scale of being satisfied with themselves, right? And feeling enough, emotionally or physically. But the conversation of wanting to lose weight still means that I have to do more, which implies not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such a gray area for a lot of people, but and it's different for me because I'm exposed to it every single day. Like I talk to people about this every single day. So you say, like, you say, for instance, like women won't talk about their specific weight. Well, I have that conversation every single day. This is my specific weight. So that's different for me for sure. I just want you guys to really, if you're listening to this, be aware of the fact that when you get to that weight, it will change very little. Okay, so it's really important. There's a couple really important lessons here. We need to celebrate the victories along the way, celebrate what we are trying to accomplish and why we're trying to accomplish it, but also realize that a number on the scale isn't going to change anything or dictate our worth or any of that. And that's really important, because you're like, I want to hit that 130, that 140, that 150. Like that's what I want to hit, because, well, the because is important. The because is really important. If it's because when I was there before I felt really good, that's great. Why did you feel good? Right? If it's because these could be completely the reason you felt good at 150 could be completely unrelated to the fact that you were 150.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different than the reason you felt good at 150 because you felt more mobile and energetic and able to do the day-to-day activities and you loved that and you felt confident. Then those are two completely different because statements that I want to get back to that 150. And so being aware of why that number is significant to you is important, but also set a number. We're setting it as a direction, I guess I would say, but it doesn't need to be the final destination, because you now at 150 could be very different than you 10 years ago at 150. So I don't want you thinking that 150 is the complete solution. You might get to 155 and be like, holy man, I feel amazing. You might get to 150 and say, oh, I'd like to go a little bit further. And that's okay. It's like I said, it's a direction. We're headed in that direction. It gives me an idea. I like to know what your goal range is, because there's a big difference between somebody who wants to lose about 100 pounds and somebody who wants to lose about 5 or 10 pounds. Those are two different journeys. But the number on the scale is not actually going to change anything. It's just the direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's so fantastic. I also think about, a doctor could tell you that an optimal health range for a weight is, maybe 130 to 140, let's say. And you could get there by really unhealthy means. And
Totally.
you could be at 133, let's say, and your lifestyle is really, really unhealthy, right? And you could maintain it and you're still not technically feeling well, yet we're tied to a psychological number and saying, I'm good, I don't need to worry. And I think, like you're saying, it's a direction, but it's not the destination, because if 133 is unhealthy on a day-to-day basis, we've done nothing great for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think, like, in a doctor's shoes, if you ask him, like, do I need to lose weight or gain weight, he's going to give you an opinion based off of what he has available. But this doctor is not necessarily a body composition expert.
Cool.
This doctor doesn't spend his whole career analyzing and deciding whether or not you need to gain or lose weight. He has what he has available, which is often going to be a BMI reference. And with a BMI reference is going to sorry, my dog's beeping in the background trying to get outside. With a BMI reference, it's not going to take into consideration muscle mass, which is a really, really important fact here. So you take almost any professional athlete, they're going to come out on a BMI obese. Obviously, on a BMI scale, that athlete's probably not asking the doctor if they need to lose weight or gain weight. They probably don't give a shit if they need to gain weight or lose weight. I'm the best at this sport in the entire world. I don't care what this doctor says about my body weight. But just as a reference, right? Somebody who carries more muscle mass might be somebody who just works with their hands all day or is mobile all day. That doesn't just naturally carry more muscle mass. Somebody who works in like a daycare and lifts kids all day, like, you're probably going to put on a little bit more muscle mass than somebody who sits at a desk. You're going to show up on that BMI and the doctor's not doing a body fat analysis on you or anything like that. And they're going to be like, hey, well, if you want to know, like, according to this, you should lose a little bit of weight. but so really, really important to realize that. And the fact that BMI, once again, is another data point. We can use all of these data points to help us collect information and make decisions, but none of that matters compared to the way you feel, the way you move, your overall health factors. Ask your doctor, how are my blood metrics measuring up to where they should be? For sure. Are there concerns with any of my health related factors that stick out? But at the end of the day, like, if you're slightly high on a BMI or slightly low on a BMI and you feel amazing, you move amazing, you're strong, you're limber, you don't have any concerns from your doctor's health standpoint, like, who cares? Unless you have specific composition goals, which could be for athletes or somebody who wants to compete in a physique competition, like, that's different. That's not what we're doing here. Go ahead.
I was going to say that you're touching on a really important point, which is sometimes a number, or the fixation on a number, can pull us away from our intuition with our own body, knowing our own body. And I think, especially in Western society, we've gotten away from that. So when you're talking about why do you want to achieve your goals, why that number, we actually do need to go internally, right? And start reflecting on, like, do I feel strong? Do I feel in control of my extremities? Do I, can I keep up in terms of cardio with the type of lifestyle I want to be engaging in? Do I feel mentally sharp? those are things I think that a lot of people stop assessing when they just fixate on a number and say, in this range or at this number, I'll be happy, quote unquote. Instead of checking in, like, I know for myself, I am in a healthy weight range for my age and my height.
Yeah.
And right now, after probably a full year of way too much sitting at a desk, I don't feel much strength in my legs the way that I used to. It's not the number that's upsetting to me. And I had to dig deep into that. Is it that I need to lose weight? No, it's actually that I have lost the connection to all of the muscles in my legs the way I used to feel strength. And so, yeah, maybe the scale is going to go up or down based on what I want to get back in terms of what I want to feel. And I think, we've got to put the intention or the goal in a different, I don't want to say direction, because I like the way you reference direction, but we want to look at one thing first. What do I want to feel before we fixate on a number and say that's going to solve my problems?
Totally. And I think that having that number as a direction is helpful, especially if you're working with a coach.
Sure.
Like I said, like if you tell me you want to lose 50 pounds, okay, I have a good game plan of how we're going to get there now compared to the person that wants to lose 5 or 100. There's all differences here. But when you say I want to lose 50, I want to that, which is for the sake of this conversation, 150 pounds, the why needs to be present, right? I want to get to 150 pounds because I felt better, because I had more energy, moved better, and was able to do my day-to-day activities better. Like if those are the reasons why, put a lot more focus on those than a number on the scale, because we might achieve those early or we might achieve those late. And that shouldn't stop or change based off of what's happening on the scale.
I love that. And everything that we're saying circles back to your original kind of presentation of the topic, which is what is enough. Because when you're assessing what you're feeling, when you're assessing your because or your why, then we can actually break the overall goal down into more manageable bite-sized pieces, and then even know how to assess what enough is on a weekly basis or a day-to-day basis. Right. So if I have a limited amount of time in my day today, because I have, back-to-back meetings, then maybe I can do smaller exercises in shorter bursts of time, but spread out over a longer period of time throughout the day. And I know I have done enough toward that larger goal.
Yeah, that circles back to talking about our BAMs, even our bare ass minimums, which we talk about lots, right? Like I don't want to dive too deep into this today, but it's okay to have periods on your journey where you coast a little bit or you have a maintenance period, as long as we don't slip into all or nothing and then go into a regression as a result. The more we can avoid regressions, if we could turn every period that would typically be a regression into a maintenance period, you're going to crush this journey.
Yeah.
And that's a really great way to reframe your thought, because most people only think in progress or I'm not doing this. Yeah. Progress, all or nothing, right? So instead of thinking I always need to be in progress, no, I always be in progress or maintenance.
I love that. Can I take that outside of weight for just a second?
Yeah.
Because I think some people will want to agree with you and they will want to accept what you're saying, but they're like, but not for me. I get it for other people, but I have to make progress. And it's like, well, let's take this into the work environment for a second. If you deal in sales, let's say, there are periods of time when, yeah, you do want to make sales and you need to push. There are also periods of time when you know that you need to nurture the relationship of the client, and it's not the time to push for a sale. Right. And we get that intuitively as sales associates, because you're maintaining the big picture, right? Or you're trying to achieve the big picture. And so you're assessing intuitively what kind of phase you're in order to make the overall progress.
Yeah, totally. That's an awesome way to think about it, because like I said earlier, I'm exposed to this health and fitness side of thing every single day. So it's easy for me to frame it this way, but you who isn't exposed to this every day, I get why it's complicated. Like if we're going to start talking about like auto mechanics or something, that's foreign to me. So I get that. And I don't expect it to be something that you deal with every day. Okay, so where do I want to go with this next? This is turning into a longer topic than I was expecting. There is a lot to cover here. So this is where I want to go next. When you decide what it is that you're shooting towards. So I want to get to this body range, or this, I love body fat percentage, because it tells us a lot cleaner picture than a number on a scale. That being said, it's really hard to get an accurate body fat percentage for most people. You don't have access to the equipment that's going to give that to you. But it, like, there's optimal body fat percentages. Typically for women, we're between 18 and 28% body fat is optimal, which is a huge range. Somebody at 18% body fat and somebody at 28% body fat are going to look very, very different, but they're both still in a very healthy range. So if you feel all of those great things that you want to accomplish in that range, that's awesome. That's not to say that somebody getting to 15% is going to be unhealthy. If we dip too low in body fat percentage, it does become unhealthy. But I'm not saying that going under 18 is unhealthy. That every person is significantly different. You can do it properly and get lower if you want to. You can dip lower if you're wanting to get into a physique competition for a period of time and then come back to a healthy range. So that's a whole nother conversation. But when you set these goals, body weight or body fat percentage, and you set what you want to feel, what you want to accomplish by getting there, it's important that it's not that check, did it, done. And that's where you want this conversation to go. You want to know, what is the ending of this story? Well, there isn't an ending. There can't be an ending, or you will regress. You'll go back on that roller coaster. You're going to fall back in your old habits. There always has to be something to shoot towards, but it's important we celebrate those milestones along the way. So I've made progress in this, column A, column B, column C. I'm feeling more limber. I'm feeling more energetic. My strength is increasing. That's great. Celebrate it. Don't just write it off, but also, what is next for me? Maybe you get to 150, you've checked off every box. All of that's great. It can't just stop there, because you're never going to be able to maintain all of that if we don't focus on progress. Progress doesn't have to be the same progress markers, though. You can put in new goals. You can put in new markers of success. It could be that you want to maintain that for the rest of your life, but there still has to be progress markers along the way, right? Whether that's, I love consistency because it's something we have 100% control over. So I know that if I want to maintain this, I need to do this action, this amount of consistency forever. That's an easy measurement of tracking. I know that I need to sleep 8 hours a night, 6 days a week. I can check that off on a calendar and say, yes, I've been consistent. No, I have not been consistent. Go ahead. What are you thinking?
No, I love it. I think there's so many great points for people to pull out. And I love that we're just tying it right back to what is enough.
Yeah. So make sure that the journey never ends. It should never end. We should always be striving for more, for challenge for ourselves. It doesn't mean you have to get lighter or leaner. I'm not saying that, but there should always be something we're striving towards. Could be that I'm striving to maintain this for as long as possible, because I know as I age, I will lose muscle mass. I will lose mobility. So I want to maintain this level of muscle mass and mobility for as long as possible. In order to do that, I'm going to control this, this, and this. It could be that I want to put on muscle mass, or I want to try something new. I want to go in a race next year, or a lifting competition next year, or a swim event next year. Like, don't stop challenging yourselves and having those goals to shoot towards. I think it's so important on a health and fitness journey not to get comfortable and not to say, I've made it.
Yeah, I love that you're pointing out too that, you know, when people are aiming to compete or aiming to lose or make change, essentially, that's seen as a worthy kind of goal, or progress to measure. But how important it is to understand that maybe this is your year that you're taking off competitions. Maybe this is your year that you are laying low and recovering from an injury or emotional upheaval in your life, right? And the goal itself is maybe form, or to not injure, right? To be gentle on the body, to give the body a break. Now, this is still progress, right? You're still aiming towards something. I think a lot of people think that that's you doing nothing, without recognizing that our body goes through different seasons too, and that's important.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to wrap this up soon, but the best way I can reference this is with professional athletes. So professional athletes have ones who have seasons. So they have in season and out of season. They have coming up to season and exiting season. So there's different parts of their health and fitness journey. During season, their primary focus will go to that sport. They will practice that sport a lot. They won't stop strength training and eating healthy. They won't stop their other goals that they were focusing in the off season, but they will drop them down to what we would consider a maintenance phase. I know my bare ass minimum that I need to do of this to maintain it through season is this. So if I want to maintain all of this strength I developed in my off season, I will continue to strength train twice a week during season. And I just like that's just one reference. It could be completely different for each athlete. Then come off season, I might start strength training 5 days a week, but I'm only playing basketball now once or twice a week to maintain my level of skill in basketball. It's okay when your goals shift back and forth like that. We don't need to drop into the all or nothing. Those are those maintenance phases we talked about that professional athletes are using. So why wouldn't we use them? Right? Okay. Anything else you want to drop on this topic?
Nope.
No.
That's gonna make spin.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal the tip for this because it relates directly to this topic. If you were looking at that bathroom, so this is your golden nugget for the day, guys. If you're looking at that bathroom scale, which I think most people will on a fat loss journey, it is a good data point. Absolutely, it's a useful data point. I'm not telling you not to use it, just be more aware of it and understand it. So if you're looking at that bathroom scale, remember that we have no control over what the number on the scale says. You stand on it in the morning, you want it to go a certain way, that doesn't mean shit. It's not going to do what you want it to do just because you want it to do something. So we have 0% control over that number on the scale. We have 100% control over the actions we take daily. The actions we take daily will influence that number on the scale, but not immediately. If I'm consistent today, it doesn't mean the number on the scale reflects tomorrow.
Yep.
So, short version of this, we can't control the scale, we can control the actions. Focus on the actions, don't worry about the scale. The scale will follow the actions. I know if I do these actions consistently, scale will follow at some point when it's ready to follow. Don't let that scale control you.
Beautiful.
Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. If you listen to this, if you liked this, come join our Facebook group, Forever Fit, Forever Strong, because we just did a whole coaching call more in depth on this specific topic last week. And I've recorded it. And if you join that group, I'll send it to you so you can watch it, because I think you'll like the visual references to go with it. If you can't find that group, shoot me a message. But I think you'll all love that if you're listening to this and enjoyed this episode. Yeah, thanks for being here. Make sure you rate it, comment, share it with your friends.